sisters, and today we're going to talk to you about dip dyeing, ombre effect on a maxi skirt. We've got a class coming up where we got some inspiration from the internet, and we found these two wonderful skirts, and one of them was a full circle maxi skirt, which had been dyed. Well, we think it'd been dyed. So it has this ombre effect of this blue going through to light blue on the top, and we'll insert a little picture so you can see what we're talking about. But our ladies who come to our classes completely fell in love with it, and so we thought we'd challenge ourselves to try and recreate the whole thing. We spent some time searching the internet to see if we could find ombre effect jersey, which doesn't exist.
But actually, even if it did, it wouldn't make any difference, because if you look at the picture, you'll see that the darker colour is all around the hem of the skirt, and then it gets lighter as it goes up, which means that the skirt needs to be finished before we can actually dye it. Otherwise, we would end up with the dye going in straight lines and not around the skirt.
So we're making this video for our ladies who are coming to class and are trying
from Sawbury Sewing School
and trying to recreate the whole look. So they may have bought their jersey, and we'll have made the skirt with them, and this is to help them when they get home to try and dye the skirt the same effect. So what we bought, we went to our local fabric shop, Fabricland in Bristol, and we bought this Dye-Lon ocean blue fabric dye. Now you can get them in packets like this. You can also get boxes, and the boxes I think are for using in the washing machine.
Yeah, if you notice this little symbol here, that's for hand wash. So that is basically a bucket.
So that's we're doing it with a bucket because we wanted to hang the skirt into the dye, so that the dye is going to work its way slowly
gradually creep up
through the skirt. If you do it in the machine, it's going to dye the whole thing a different colour, and that's not what we're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that you'll need if you're using any kind of dye, whether it's machine or bucket dye, is that you will also need some salt. The salt is what sets the dye, so it's important to have. And this Dye-Lon pack contains exactly the amount that you will need, and that's why it's, you know, they sell their own brand. It's still relatively inexpensive. That's 95p for a bag of salt, but you could just use normal table salt. That would be absolutely fine, and you would, you know, it would work out cheaper doing it that way, but at least then it's weighed for you. It's just 500 grams, so you could weigh that yourself.
And the dye itself was, I think, just slightly less than £4.
Yes.
So, and they have a huge variety of colours. We knew we wanted blue because we bought blue jersey. Yeah. But we had a choice of about 3 or 4 different.
We nearly went with the navy, but then we went with the ocean blue in the end. And the instructions call for the fabric to be thoroughly washed. And then whilst it's still damp is when you're supposed to apply the dye. We're not going to wash the fabric. We're going to see what happens if we don't. So it may come back to you at the end saying,
who knows?
Should have done that really. But we are just going to spray it with a water bottle to get it damp, so that it is actually damp when we apply the dye. And the theory behind it is that we will suspend it above the bucket so that just the hem of the skirt is in the dye, and then hopefully the colour will creep up. But possibly fairly evenly up the skirt, and then the top of the skirt will remain the same light blue jersey. So I'm going to insert some pictures here now of Nikki wearing the skirt, so you can see what the skirt looks like before it's dyed. It's one of those things that it's
blue pizza moment.
I know. It's one of those items that's really impossible for you to see the quality of it really without actually feeling it. So there's an awful lot of fabric in there. That skirt took 5 metres of fabric.
And you can see jersey, so it's nice
a viscose
and soft.
Jersey, we only bought a cheap viscose jersey for £3.99 a metre because we needed 5 metres, because it's the first time we've done this, and we wanted to just check that the whole thing was going to work before buying anything expensive. But it does fall in so many of these lovely little folds, and it feels like you're wearing something really quite glamorous. I tried it on. It is going to be Nikki's skirt, but I tried it on just to see what it feels like. If you've been on Instagram, if you've seen on Instagram, Nikki made a very silly boomerang video of me wearing it yesterday, doing some interpretive dance with
flouncing around
the folds of the jersey.
But it is, when you put it on, it's kind of like you suddenly want to swish and you want to stroke it, because it's very lovely, soft jersey.
Yes.
It feels like silk almost. It's lovely.
So what we'll do is we will either take some pictures or shoot some video of the process as we're doing it, and we will edit all those in here, and then hopefully we'll come back to you at the end with a finished skirt that Nikki will be wearing,
flouncing
around doing her own interpretive dance, and then hopefully if it's something that you're interested in, you'll know how to do it too.
And if we fail terribly, we will still put the video up and we will show you
and explain why we think we
made
failed.
Skirts. It could go any way. We just don't know.
Good. That's
Keep
the beauty
tuned,
of doing it all on film.
Anyway, see you in a minute.
Bye. Bye. We're just spraying the hem of the skirt. It's only the hem that we actually want to apply the dye to, so just spraying the base of it with a water bottle. It says that you should use the dye when the garment is damp but not wringing wet, so we just thought this would be a good way to get it a little bit damp. I'm just, because it's such a big skirt and there's so much fabric there, I'm just making sure that I'm doing it on all sides and making sure that I get the whole hem.
I'm just going to open the dye now and I'm going to put it straight into the bucket of warm water. We've got 6 litres of slightly warm water here.
Traffic's just decided to get really noisy when we need to film.
Dipping it in.
Oh, look at that lovely colour.
I found an old ruler, so I'm going to give it a good old mix.
Any kind of stirring implement. It does say wear rubber gloves so that you don't get any splashback, but we are living dangerously.
Because we didn't have any.
I think the important thing is to make sure that the dye is completely dissolved, so we'll keep stirring it for a while.
So we're now going to add the salt, and contrary to what Rachel said previously, for the small packets you only need half of the salt.
I didn't read the instructions. I have now.
Can you tell we're just slightly winging it today, but that's okay. That's what most people do. So I'm going to pour in half. Oh, it's gone cloudy, look. We're not looking for a perfect effect, so we're not too worried about how it turns out. I think that's about half, and I'm going to give it a stir. Maisie is very interested.
You like this, Maisie? Yes.
We may find at some point today that Maisie is turning a slight shade of blue. Which might be slightly worrying.
We have to lock her in the house, or we'll have Ombre dog. Oh, it's all right. Someone's at the door. She's off. Do you reckon that'll do?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Excellent. So what we've done now is we have actually added a little bit more water to the hem. We actually did rinse it under the tap in the end, just because whilst we had it in the sun, it had already started to dry, and we just thought it was quite important for it to be as damp as it said in the instructions. So it actually works. So now what I'm going to do is trying to keep hold of the waistband, so I'm doing it all at once. I'm just going to put the end in the bucket. So just going to...
It's going in! It's going in!
In there. Woo. And then I'm just going to pin it to the clothes rail here. This could be quite difficult. I should have got some...
Use the big clips, those ones.
Ready. And hopefully what will happen is whilst it's sat in there, you can already see it starting to happen, the dye will gradually creep up and get sort of start off quite dark at the bottom and then get lighter as it comes up to create that ombre effect. If you zoom in, you can see that it is already starting to happen.
Yay!
So we're going to leave that there now. We're going to go to lunch and
who knows what will happen
and see what's happened when we come back. Right, we're back now from our lovely lunch. We were gone a bit longer than we planned to be, but as you can see, we've got this ombre effect. It's not particularly even, it is a little bit patchy, but then we did do a very quick job of it. We didn't necessarily follow all the instructions to the letter, but we're actually really happy.
I love it
with the effect, and I think once it's actually dry, it's going to be even more noticeable. So what we're going to do now is pop it into the washing machine on a warm wash. We're going to do a quick wash first, I think, just to remove any excess dye. Then we're going to put it on a warm wash and dry it, and hopefully we'll come back to you when we've got a lovely finished skirt.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
We're back again. We just thought we would do a little roundup just so that we could talk you through what went right, what went wrong, and all the little tips and tricks that we realised.
Yeah, I'd say it was about 50-50 in terms of what went right and what went wrong.
We've got a little finished video to show you of the actual skirt, which we'll insert just while we're chatting. But what we realised was that the jersey cut on the bias and made into the skirt basically stretches a huge amount.
Huge. And the reason for that is that we specifically chose a viscose jersey because we needed something with lots of drape. There was 5 meters of it, so you've got an awful lot of fabric in that skirt. It might not look like it when it's on. It's not till you see the movement that you can really see.
Wait till you see Rachel twirl and you'll see how much is in it.
Then you can really see how much fabric is in it. And obviously, whenever you cut anything into a circle, then a significant portion of that is going to end up on the bias.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that the skirt, whilst it's drying, whilst it's hanging, distorts massively. So whereas it started off with a perfectly curved hem, by the end it was like and we had to cut a good 8 inches off of the sort of the bit that's at 45 degrees, the bit that's most on the bias. So you should expect to need to do that, whether you are dyeing it or not. So even if you're just making a full length circle skirt and you're using all that fabric to do it, you will still need to do some trimming, but one way around that is to make sure you pre-wash your jersey, and then it probably won't stretch quite so much.
Well, we washed. Did we wash? We didn't wash the fabric before we made
didn't.
the skirt.
There were quite a few things that we didn't do that we should have done. One is washing the jersey first.
Beforehand.
That would have meant that the dye would have taken more evenly, because what we should also have done is actually to apply the dye, to dunk it in the bucket whilst it was damp.
Yes, wet.
Yes, wet, not dripping, but wet.
A bit wet.
So ideally, wash it first.
Yes.
Well, obviously, if you've sewn it into the skirt, you'll need to wash it once you've sewn it.
Yes.
And then whilst it's still damp, then
put it in the dye.
Before it's had a chance to dry.
We find that obviously because we had to trim a chunk off the bottom of the skirt to even it up at the end. We lost a good chunk of the dye. So I would definitely recommend that you take the dye further up the skirt than you probably were planning on.
Yes.
Because it does vary, so it gives you that ombre effect where it kind of spreads up the skirt. But also it just means that if you're having to take a good 3 or 4 or 5 inches off the bottom, you're not cutting all of the ombre effect off.
No. So I would submerge 2/3 of the skirt in the bucket. We only did about 1/3. And even then it was probably only a quarter to start off with, and then we submerged it a little bit more.
Yeah, we were a bit tentative to start with, but I think you just need to have, just go for it basically. Put it in as much as you dare, and it won't take it's not going to be completely wild.
Exactly. And I think one thing our little experiment does prove is that it doesn't look awful. It's not bad, is it?
No, it's lovely.
It doesn't look terrible. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect, gradient of ombre effect moving up the skirt. It's not the right height for where we wanted it ideally. But that's because we cut lots of corners.
Yes.
So if you actually read the instructions properly and you pre-wash your fabric and you do it all properly, then I think you could probably get a much smoother effect. But what ours does show is that even a bodge job looks pretty cool, doesn't it? It looks really good.
You could even do it again. I mean, now that it's been hung and it's been trimmed off and everything is fine, we could actually put it in. If you needed to, you could actually buy another pack of dye and give it another go.
Yeah.
If you're not happy
maybe
with the first
colour.
attempt. Now we're talking. Your rainbow skirts next. But you could actually do it again. It's very cheap to do. I mean, it was less than £5 for the dye and the salt. And once the skirt's made, you can do what you will with it. But definitely add those extra inches before you start. Take as much length as you can. What started out as my skirt has now become Rachel's skirt because it's now been trimmed a little bit too much.
Yes, so
for
those
my
extra
legs.
few inches were all the difference. It is supposed to be a full-length maxi skirt, which means that it should really be hitting your ankles. And whilst on me, even it is just a tiny bit above. On Nikki, it looks more like a midi.
Yes,
and that's not really the look we were going for. So I've inherited a skirt.
Woo!
The good news being that the reason it was going to be Nikki's was because I didn't think that I would like it. But as soon as you put on a skirt, shirt that's got that much fabric in it and you twirl around, then you need it. You need one.
You can't help but doing a little swish as you're wearing it.
Exactly. So that's it. We hope you found that informative, and that potentially you want to make your own ombre dye skirt
Jersey
or
Maxi
anything
skirt.
really.
Yes.
And we would love to see how they turn out. If you have any questions along the way, make sure you leave us a comment below and we will do our best to get back to you.
We will.
But more importantly, if you follow the instructions properly and get a proper result,
Send us a picture.
then we would love to see yours. So make sure you send us a picture of yours as well.
Definitely.
So we'll be back soon with another video. Bye.
Bye.